In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can model the corner cube from the Creo Primer. To start, what we're going to do is set our working directory. So if we come up here and we click working directory and just change this to a file location on the computer that you'd like to save everything. So I've got a folder set up on my desktop, so I'm just going to save everything there and press OK. So that means that anything that I generate now will get saved in that location. So I need to start a new part, so I'm going to click New. So we've got part highlighted, that's fine. We can write a name in here. So we're going to write corner cube. So just a note here, you can't leave spaces in the name. So if you need a space, use an underscore. And untick the default template. Click OK. Out of the box, Creo will try and set inches as its unit. So we need to change this to millimeters. So if we just scroll down a little bit, you'll see one here that says millimeters, part solid. So click that, click OK. So now we're in the 3D environment. We can change our view slightly, make it a little bit less cluttered. So if we go on data and display filters just here, we'll tick select all to get rid of everything, and then we'll reselect the planes. So we've just got the planes in view. And so now we're going to start with an extrusion. So to do this, the first thing that we're going to do is select on this front plane here. So click front in the model tree and then click extrude. And you'll see that we're now in sketch view. And so we can change the sketch view so it's actually 2D. So if we come up here, click sketch view. Okay, so now we're looking at it how we'd like to. And so we're going to start by sketching a rectangle. And we're going to use the center rectangle tool for this. So if we come up to our toolbar along the top here and click this little drop down menu, and you can see that we've got center rectangle here. And you'll see that the pointer's changed slightly now. So I've got this cross and I can snap to these reference lines. So these are just default reference lines that have been picked up using the other planes. And I'm going to click in the middle, just one click. And then if I pull out the cursor, you'll see that I'm starting to generate a rectangular shape here. To select the shape that I want, I just need to click again. So just click. So we've got a rectangle here. And if we just press the middle mouse button now, that means that it's confirmed and we're no longer within the rectangle tool. Now what we want to do is make this a square. So there's a couple of ways that we can do it. So we could just change the dimensions here so that they're both the same, and that would work. But there's another way, a more convenient way. So if we just click each line, so I'll click the top line, press Control, click this line here, and you see I get this new sort of pop-up window appear. And what we can do is make these lines equal. And so now we've got a square. So all of the edges are the same length. And we can now change this dimension. So if I just double click on the dimension here, you can see that I can now input data. So we're going to change this to 30. So type in 30, press enter, and you see, okay, it's gone really small on our screen here. We can refit this using the refit button. We can also move this dimension, just click it and drag and hold. We can refit it again. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with what we have now. And if we just click OK, and now if I rotate the screen, just hold down the middle, the scroll wheel, and you'll see that we've now got a 3D geometry. So we've taken our sketch and we're extruding it out. Now, the important thing is that we've got a few parameters that we can change. So if we come to the top menu here, you can see at the moment, we're just extruding to a specified depth. Now, I would like to maintain this plane in the middle because it actually helps me later on. So if I change this to symmetrical, you can see it's now extruding both sides of the plane. And the depth should be 30, so I don't need to change that. It's automatically put in 30 for me. and we can click OK. So now we've got the basis for our cube. I'm just going to save. So if I come to the top here, press this little save button, we get our save dialog box come up. You can see that the file name's already entered, and actually the file location is where I set earlier with the working directory. So I'm just going to click OK. So that's now saved. We're now going to extrude the first hole. So what we're going to do is press Ctrl D to go back to our default view. I'm going to click this front surface and then click extrude. And then click on sketch view. So we're now ready to draw a circle. So this circle goes through the middle of this point. Now, because of the way that we extruded this cube, I know that these reference lines are going directly through the center of my component. So that means that where they cross is the midpoint. So that makes life a little bit easier for me. Now what I'm going to do is click on this circle tool here. So we've got center and point circle. And again, I'm going to click in the middle and then drag out this circle. I'm going to click again and then press the middle mouse button. And we're going to change this diameter. So this needs to be 8. So double click, press 8, enter, and we click OK. So we finished the sketch and we're now ready to perform the actual extrusion. You can see that it's trying to add the material here. So however, that's not what we want, is it? We want it to remove this material. It needs to be a through hole all the way through. So if we flip the direction at the top here in our toolbar, and we can also change this. So we could change this value here to 30, and we know that it would go all the way through. But a better way of doing that would be to change the depth type. So there's an option here that goes through, so extrude to intersect with all surfaces. So if I do that, it goes through everything. You'll also notice that as soon as I flip the direction, the remove material command activated, so it identified that we should probably remove this material. It doesn't always do that, so just remember that the remove material command is there. So using extrusion, we can add and remove material. Click OK, and we've got our first hole. Now we're going to extrude our second hole. So I'm just going to press Ctrl D. I'm going to click on this surface here and then click extrude. Now we're going to go to sketch view. And you can see this time the reference lines don't match with the center here. Okay, so this is going to make my life a little bit more difficult. And what I'm going to do is add a new reference line. So I'm going to pick up this plane and add it as a reference line. So to do this, I click on reference, and then I can click on this line, well, the plane, and it adds a new reference line. So now I've got that point where I can snap to in the middle here. Click solve and then close. So we're just going to follow the same process as before. So we've got the center and point. I'm going to click in the middle, click again, press the middle mouse button, and change the diameter to 8. And press OK. Again, it's trying to add the material. So we're going to flip the direction. It's automatically started to remove, and we'll change it to through all. So now we've got it going through the whole body. So we've got 2 of our holes sorted. Press OK, and I suppose we should also save. So if I just press save now, it will just automatically save. So now we're going to use the hole tool to add the final hole. So this is just another way of adding through holes to our components. So I'm going to press Ctrl D. Let's go back to our original view. And what I'm going to do is select this top surface and then go to hole here. Okay, so you can see we've got the hole that's breaking this top surface. And I need to dimension this. And we have these little grab handles that we can attach to different surfaces or planes, and that will allow us to dimension the position of this hole. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this one here. I'm just going to click on to it and hold and then drag it to this plane, and you'll see that it's now closed and we have a dimension in place. And I'm going to do the same with this one, but with this plane. So now I'm able to position this hole on this surface. So if I click on this 10 value, type 0, you can see that it's moved it in line with that plane. And we could do the same with this one, 0. And now we know that it's in the center. So I want to change the diameter of this hole. It looks a little bit small at the moment. So if I come to dialog box at the top, so the ribbon menu, we can see that it says diameter is 6.2. We'll change that to 8. And we can also change the depth. So again, we'll change this so that it goes through all. So that looks good to me. So we're going to click OK. We now have the basic shape for the cube. And we'll save again, just good practice to make sure that we're consistently saving as we're going through. And now we're going to round the edges of the cube. So if I come to the top here, you can see in the engineering section, we have the round command. So I'm just going to click round. And now if I select an edge, you can see that it basically removes the sharp edge with a rounded corner. Now I want the radius to this to be 5, so there's a couple of ways you can enter it in the ribbon bar at the top, or you can just double click here, change this to 5. See that? It's much easier to see now. And we need to do this to all of the corners of our cube. So what we have to do is select them all. And if you press and hold Control and select multiple corners, you'll see that they all become rounded at the same time. Now, if you need to change your view, you can just let go of Control and then move the screen, and you'll see that all of the edges stay highlighted. So if I just press Control again now and start clicking, I can add extra corners to it. I think I'm just missing one now around the back here. There we go. So I've got them all, and we just click OK. So I'm happy with that. Click Save. And now what we're going to do is chamfer the edges of the holes. So these holes, we'll put a little chamfer around there. And we can use the chamfer tool from the engineering section. And so the chamfer that I'm looking for is 0.5. So let's change this up here. And then I can click each one of these. Again, to add multiple edges, we just press Control and then click the different edges. Release Control so that we can rotate the screen. Okay, so I've got them all highlighted now. And we'll click OK there and save. So we've actually made the component now. So that's all complete. And if we press Control D, we can see it's finished. And what we might want to do is just change the view type and go shading with edges. And so that's basically how we create the corner cube for the Creo Primer.